Hello and welcome to Clever News. We are reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. In the news, female leaders of non-governmental organizations in Nigeria brainstorm on better life for women. OPEC applauds federal government's efforts at tackling maritime insecurity. Kenya becomes third African country to adopt world's first malaria vaccine. I am Prudence Okona with the details of these and more. President Muhammadu Buhari will depart Abuja on Saturday to attend the one-day ECOWAS Heads of State and Government Extraordinary Summit on Counter-Terrorism in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. The decision to convene the summit was reached at the 55th Ordinary Session of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government in Abuja on June 29, 2019. President Buhari recognizes the imperative of collective actions in the fight against terrorism and collaborating with ECOWAS member states and international organizations to address the menace. In Ouagadougou, ECOWAS leaders are expected to adopt a priority action plan on counter-terrorism and put in place a mechanism to monitor the implementation of the measures adopted towards ensuring lasting peace in the sub-region. President Buhari will be accompanied by Governors Abubakar Bello, Dakpo Abiodun and Okezie Ikbazu of Niger, Ogun and Abia states respectively. The Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Oyama and the Minister of Defense Major General Bashir Magashi retired, others on the entourage of the President and the National Security Advisor Major General Babagana Mangunu and Director General National Intelligence Agency Ambassador Ahmed Rufai Abubakar. And Vice President Yemi Osinbajo will be representing President Muhammadu Buhari at the state funeral for former President Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe on Saturday. Professor Osinbajo's spokesman Daolu Akande confirmed the Vice President's attendance in a statement on Friday. Vice President Osinbajo, who will be accompanied on the trip by senior government officials, is expected back in Nigeria later on Saturday. The Vice President will be joining other African leaders and heads of state expected at the occasion scheduled for the country's national stadium in Harare. Heads of state expected to attend the funeral include President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa and President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya. Mugabe, who was Zimbabwean Prime Minister and later President for 37 years altogether up until 2017, died last week at the age of 95 in a Singaporean hospital. National Chairman of the ruling All Progressives Congress, Adams Oshiomhole, says the party is ready for the next round of legal battle with the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and its presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. Oshiomhole made this known in Abuja on Thursday while responding to questions from State House correspondents on the opposition party's decision to appeal the judgment of the President's Election Petitions Tribunal. The PDP had on Wednesday vowed to appeal the judgment which upheld the election of President Muhammadu Buhari. However, the APC chairman maintained that the same facts that gave President Buhari victory at the election tribunal would suffice at the Supreme Court. He said, and we quote, "We as a party, we are confident if it is within the Nigerian law for PDP to go even to the World Court, we will meet them there. The Supreme Court is Supreme Court of Nigeria, not Supreme Court of APC or PDP. We are ready to meet them. President Buhari is ready to meet defeated Atiku Abubakar at the Supreme Court, and the All Progressives Congress is ready to meet PDP at that court." End of quote. The APC chairman urged Atiku Abubakar and the entire members of the opposition party to forget about what happened at the polls and support President Buhari to move Nigeria forward. Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has been speaking on why he congratulated President Muhammadu Buhari after the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal affirmed his re-election. The governor says he decided to congratulate the president because it was the right thing to do, as the Court of Appeal has confirmed his victory. The governor says, unlike some governors of his party, the People's Democratic Party (PDP), who secretly visit President Muhammadu Buhari at night to declare their allegiance. He chose to make his declaration public because it came from his heart, stressing that he would never cast aspersion on the judiciary.
PDP governors go to see him in the night. I have never gone. I will not go. So when people are talking like, it's not my friend. It's not doing well. But he won in court. Should I say that court did wrong? No. But Buhari, congratulations. And carry Nigerians along. Unify the country. The country is too divided.
Carry River State along for the interest of the state. APC, you are not helping River State. When you see President Buhari, tell him he should help River State. We will produce oil too. They should not punish River State because of me. I'm not River State. I'm only an individual.
The decision of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and its presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar to appeal Wednesday's judgment of the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal has been described as a welcome development. Some PDP members in Bayelsa State say they are hopeful that the verdict of the Justice Garba Muhammad-led 5-man panel, which ruled in favor of President Muhammadu Buhari of the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC), will be overturned at the Supreme Court. We have the details.
The judgments of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, led by Justice Garba Muhammad, may have jilted not a few members of People's Democratic Party (PDP) in Bayelsa State. Why, one asks? The PDP faithful say they were looking forward to the declaration of the party candidate Atiku Abubakar as the actual winner of the February 23, 2019 presidential election. For them, the reaffirmation of the President Buhari as the winner of the poll is a travesty of justice.
This case is not about Atiku. This case is about our legal jurisprudence in this country. It's about our democracy. And anybody who is looking at this case from the angle of Atiku or Buhari is missing the point. This judgment or this case will define the legal jurisprudence provided election petition tribunal or election petition cases are concerned with issues as to certificate. So we are looking at the Supreme Court doing justice to what has happened. For us, we are not here to criticize judges, but our opinion is very clear. We are not satisfied with what has happened.
So without certificate, you can attain any position in society. Meaning that those of us who struggled, who went to the universities, went to the secondary schools, what are they telling the public? What are they telling us? What are they encouraging the younger ones that are coming up? So to me, the judgment of yesterday was not fair.
As the PDP and its candidate, Atiku Abubakar, head to the Supreme Court to appeal the tribunal's judgment, PDP loyalties in Bayelsa State are confident that the justice will be served at the Apex Court.
Thank God there is a window for the PDP and our candidate to also exhaust all available means. That is the Supreme Court. So I think that's the right thing to do.
As members of one party, what touches the eye touches the nose. If the eye sheds tears, the nose must reciprocate in the same gesture. And our gesture, our position is that we expect positive result from the Supreme Court.
While Nigerians await the final judgment on the 2019 presidential election by the Supreme Court, the PDP hierarchy has, however, appealed to its members nationwide to be calm and remain law-abiding, saying the party will have the last laugh.
As the National and State Assembly Elections Petitions Tribunal sitting in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital, reels out its judgment on several petitions before it, the reactions appear to be tearing apart once more loyalists of the two dominant parties in the state, while members of the All Progressives Congress (APC), which is yet to win any of the cases, are said to be uncomfortable. The State's Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Inyememe Bong, has advised those dissatisfied to look elsewhere for both their electoral and legal failures rather than heating up the polity. The report.
Since the tribunal set up to entertain petitions arising from the conduct of the 2019 National and State Assembly elections started delivering its judgments, after several sittings of hearings, the verdicts have continued to receive mixed reactions. All the judgments so far delivered are in favor of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, a development that has led to allegations of bias and compromise against the tribunal from members of the All Progressives Congress, APC. But the state's PDP Publicity Secretary, Ini Emeobong, says the APC not only lost elections woefully as confirmed by the tribunal's judgment, but the party's legal team are at best incompetent.
We urge them that if you have issues with the judgment of the tribunal, the Court of Appeal is there. But to invite the president and stakeholders of the APC to intervene in ways not known to law is a criminal offense. Absolutely criminal. What do you invite them to do? Go to the Court of Appeal.
The state PDP spokesman provides further insight into some of the judgments so far delivered by the Election Petitions Tribunal.
In Godswill Akpabio's case, the majority judgment of the tribunal is a soothing balm to the people of Ikot-Ekpene Senatorial District, Akwa Ibom Northwest, who massively rejected him at the polls. They ensured that he lost convincingly in 8 local government areas and had a slim victory in 1. In a Senate local government, he supervised a reign of terror and harassment against his people, but still could not get a result to fertilize his ill-fated return to the Senate. This judgment of the tribunal, therefore, is a confirmation of the sanctity of the ballot, and the tribunal must be commended for their integrity and resoluteness. In the case against Party Fund, the APC and their candidate filed a petition with a wrong heading of the court, wrong name of the federal constituency, non-compliance with the Electoral Act, and inability to prove allegation of corrupt practices in line with Section 135 of the Evidence Act.
While urging the general public to disregard allegations of bias and compromise, which he termed illogical and baseless, Emeobong seized the opportunity to commend members of the tribunal for not only upholding justice, but standing on the side of the people.
Ahead of the Kogi governorship election scheduled for November 16th, the main opposition People's Democratic Party may be running into troubled waters. The senator representing Kogi West, Dino Melaye, has rejected his appointment as the Director General of his party's campaign team for the election. Responding to his appointment through a Facebook post on Friday, the vocal senator said, and we quote, "Let me state categorically that I have turned down the position of Director General of the PDP Kogi State Governorship Campaign Council. I wish PDP all the best. When truth is a casualty, there is chaos." Senator Dino Melaye, end of quote. Senator Melaye contested the PDP governorship primary held on September 3rd and came forth. He severally criticized the process that produced Musa Wada as a sham and blamed the sitting governor of the rival ruling All Progressives Congress APC, Yahya Bello, of instigating violence against him. Governor Bello has since dismissed the allegation. And as part of efforts to ensure the sustainability of government projects designed to help in achieving the sustainable development goals in rural areas, the Edo State government has tasked local council chairmen to take ownership of projects and programs executed in their area of jurisdiction. Secretary to the state government, Osarodion Ogie, gave the charge at a one-day interactive engagement session with local council chairmen on community ownership and local implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals projects in the state. Ogie noted that the Obaseki-led administration is strengthening the synergy between the state government and the local councils for optimal performance, adding that while the state government is implementing projects across the state, chairmen of local councils need to take ownership of such projects. Edo SDG's focal person, Ifueko Alufohai, said the essence of the interactive session with the council chairman was to improve synergy for better management of SDGs projects. She said the office of the SDGs needed to collaborate better with the chairman in order to actualize the 17 SDGs in the state. Also, the Commissioner for Finance, Joseph Oboigbe, said the SDGs have a set of frameworks that would assist chairmen of local councils to plan and deliver development to people at the grassroots. Oboigbe added that a common practice in the country has been to focus attention on the conditional grant scheme of the SDGs instead of using the SDGs framework for economic planning. Chairman, Edo State Chapter of the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, Jenkins Osunde, said the interactive session was timely beneficial as it brought to the fore the need for council's involvement in the execution of SDGs projects. You're watching Clearview Television News. We'll be back after this timeout. Hello and welcome to Clearview News. We're reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja.
Hello and welcome to the sporting segment of Clearview Television.
How do you describe this, your encounter with Jesus Christ and became born again?
I wasn't looking for Jesus. He was not lost. I was the one lost. He found me.
A man must understand first that he is a creative being.
Kwarai da gaske to ai in ba zaman lafiya.
A Clearview Television suna kokari fiye da nake tsammani saboda na farko dai duk lokacin da mutum ya rarrabe su ana wani program zai same su.
Naam.
Hello guys, welcome to the entertainment today on your favorite TV station, Clearview Television.
Everything nice. I turned night to her birthday.
That's why I'm not looking up to him.
Okay.
If I'm looking up to him now, he's saying he's having bad hair now. I will start constructing bad hair so that I will be like Papa.
Hello and welcome to your favorite program on Clearview Television, You and Your Health.
Your special edition of the rescue mission because of the season.
Prophet Ibrahim asked Allah that, "Oh Allah, what can you do for me? Please give me a son, even for me to slaughter him for sacrifice. I'm ready to do that."
You're welcome back. And a group of women leaders and women-led non-governmental organizations, NGOs, has launched an initiative through which it hopes to give a voice to the vulnerable in the country. Known as Women in Humanitarian Response in Nigeria Initiative, the group is committed to addressing what it considers as the increasing rates of gender-related violence, as well as the restrictions on the political, social and economic rights of women in the country. Clearview TV's Joy Sekweyi was there and now reports.
Decades are spent talking about the importance of gender equality, equity and fairness. However, while we talk, the situation of women gets worse. To change the narrative, this platform is created to bring together female humanitarian leaders and organizations involved in humanitarian emergency response to enhance strategic collaboration and information sharing. The objective is to enhance a more effective, better coordinated, timely and principled humanitarian response in all the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. Throwing more light on the initiative, the convener Women in Humanitarian Response Initiative, Mimido Akbacha, says the initiative helped to change women and girls, noting it is coming at a point of increasingly more complex and protracted crisis around the world and a global backlash against women's rights.
This initiative came as a result of the insurgency and header farmer clashes going on in the country. And we discovered that when this crisis happen or disasters happen, it is the women and children that are mostly affected. And there has been no, civil society organizations have been working independently. So we felt that there was a need to have a coordinating body. So we felt that there was need to come together and, coordinate all the women in Nigeria, all the women working on humanitarian response. That is the whole idea about this.
In her remark, a representative of NACTIV, Adindu Ugochukwu, says women make invaluable contributions in humanitarian interventions without being rewarded. She added that sometimes in the course of their participation in humanitarian actions, women are further exposed to gender-based violence, sexual abuse and exploitation. To check the trend, she pledged NATIV's preparedness to continue to partner with relevant organizations to give a voice to the voiceless.
Women do a lot of work in the area of humanitarian services in our society. However, enough prominence is not given to the positive contributions they do. NATIV will continue to support initiatives aimed at empowering the vulnerable groups in Nigeria. Of specific concern is the empowerment of women and children from the northeast and the north central extraction owing to the incessant and unabating crisis bereaving the region.
For the CEO of Christian Aid, Amanda Mukwashi, the Women in Humanitarian Response Initiative will give voice to the vulnerable by protecting women and children. Amanda is confident that this initiative will foster sustainable development.
We recognize that women are the first ones, they're the first responders on the ground. And yet sometimes we find that women are being treated like victims and passive recipients. But that's not the case. Women are the ones who come up with solutions. Women are the ones who know what is needed, whether it's for themselves or whether it's for their children, for their families. And so it's really important that this Women in Humanitarian Response Initiative here in Nigeria is launched today, because this is about them sitting at the decision-making space, the tables, and looking at solutions. It's about coordinating their responses. And what is fantastic is that the members of this network are coming from different expertise. And for me, that is key for sustainability.
Her position received support from the Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Pauline Tallen, who was represented by Emmanuel Amambu. She stated that the government is putting measures in place that will help curb violence against women and children.
Notwithstanding the inadequate recognition accorded to womanhood in Nigeria, it is disheartening to note that incidences of gender-based violence is exacerbated by weak legislation and enforcement mechanisms, lack of effective programming of GBV and inefficient handling of GBV issues by security personnel and other actors in the field. Ladies and gentlemen, while I do not intend to downplay the gravity of non-involvement of women in critical issues of peace and security, I believe that it is important to note that the federal government is not resting in our hours in tackling the situation.
Participants at the forum agreed that no peace-building process can be successful and effective without a strong participation of women. No conflict resolution can be worthwhile and fruitful without the full weight of women. And no nation can experience the desired growth and sustainable development without contributions from the women folks. Joy Esekweyi, reporting for Clearview Television.
The presence of military in Falgore Forest has significantly improved security in Kano State. Governor Abdullahi Gaduje disclosed this during flag-off of medical outreach at Gadabu village of Dagowa local government area.
The medical outreach was organized as part of the activities to mark the passing out of 78 newly recruited intakes of the Nigerian Army. For Governor Abdullahi Ganduje, the medical outreach initiative is a noble one as it is inclined with his administration commitment to improve the health sector in the state for the benefit of the people.
That we have here to witness the exercise of the Nigerian depot recruits, and it is very, very informative that Kano is secured because of the coordination among the security agencies. And also I'm happy to observe that the Army is conducting an outreach in the host community where they provided free medical services to the people. And I think this is a very good omen because that makes a good relationship where the Army or security agencies can be getting information from the locality, and that is where we are emphasizing community policing, and this is part of it.
But how relevant is the medical outreach initiative? The commander of the Army Training Depot, Major General Sani Mohammed, says it will go a long way in improving the existing cordial relationship between the Army and the host community. The medical outreach program featured blood pressure screening tests, as well as the distribution of mosquito nets to pregnant women and others.
Director General National Orientation Agency Garba Abari says a lack of meaningful opportunities contributes in no small measure to escalating the current security challenges which Nigeria is grappling with. This is a submission of the Director General National Orientation Agency Garba Abari, who has called on government at all levels to prioritize programs and policies that will create opportunities for self-fulfillment for the teeming youth. Our correspondent Aniete Patrick has more.
Addressing the media at a two-day zonal workshop for citizens, groups and other stakeholders on civic and voter education in Abuja, Abari says corruption and ill-gotten wealth are beginning to look like the correct thing to aspire for if a person wants to enjoy good life and be recognized by religious, traditional and social cultural groups. He therefore urged youth groups to find constructive engagement platforms with government, as the National Orientation Agency is saddled with the responsibility of getting youths to again begin to appreciate the virtues of hard work, integrity, industry, education, nation building and excellence.
There are those who argue that lack of meaningful opportunities in no small measure contributes to the escalation of the current security challenges which Nigeria is grappling with. There is also no gainsaying the fact that these security challenges have taken a huge toll on Nigeria's dwindling revenues. Peace, reconciliation, and forgiveness have inherent elements that will help the process of peace building, of harmonious coexistence, and national cohesion. The thinking is that if the youth in Nigeria are assured of a meaningful life, they may not opt to choose the lifestyle offered by the promoters of violence and destruction. It is in this regard that we urge government at all levels to prioritize programs, policies, and activities that will create opportunities for self-fulfillment for our teeming youth. We also urge the youth in this country to find constructive engagement platforms with government.
It is no longer news to say that elections in Nigeria are characterized by large numbers of voided votes as well as the disturbing trend of vote buying. This is often the case as majority of voters, most of who reside in rural areas, are not exposed to adequate voter education. Some stakeholders at the workshop raised issues that should be taken as critical towards nominating participants for the capacity building workshop on civic responsibility across board, including the electoral process and governance at all levels.
There are claims and perquisites he used to have. We are no more having that. The same thing with the citizenry that are not working. It's not that the government is wicked. Most importantly, the resource of the country is dwindling. We must understand that we're in a transition. And the corruption fight had limited the outflow to the leakages of the pocket. But at the same time, corruption cannot be killed in a day. It's a work in progress. So each time, we do not need to transfer the aggression as if government at all levels are very wicked people.
Voter education takes place to assist the election administration in its task of delivering a free, fair, effective, and co-effective election.
We have gone to 5 geopolitical zones, and of course, you know we have 6 zones in Nigeria. So this is the final zone that we have come to. In all the zones that we went, a lot of empowerment, a lot of skill transfer we are giving to citizens, because that is the whole essence of the activity that we are holding.
It is hoped that this capacity building will empower communities to interrogate processes, actions, and reported achievements through the Freedom of Information Act. Annie T. Patrick, reporting for Clearview Television.
The Minister of Communications, Dr. Isa Ibrahim Bantami, has directed telecoms operators through the Nigerian Communications Commission to deactivate 9.2 million SIM cards belonging to Nigerian subscribers that were improperly registered across various networks. Bantami gave the directive Thursday when members of the Nigeria Computer Society paid him a courtesy visit at the ministry's headquarters in Abuja. Bantami explained that the move became necessary following the increasing rate of kidnapping and other crimes across the country, and that families of victims are often contacted with mobile phones that have SIM cards that were not properly registered. Bantami, however, said that once the owners of the SIM cards regularize their registration, they would be reactivated and their SIM cards will start working again. In line with the earlier directives of the minister to all agencies and parastatals under his purview, and on assumption of office last month, the NCC submitted its baseline short-term performance targets report, where it noted that 9.2 million SIM cards were not properly registered across all networks. The NCC report to the minister, which was signed by the executive vice chairman of the commission, Professor Umar Garba Dambata, contained precise figures of improperly registered SIM cards in use around the country. NCC had since discovered that most Nigerians did not properly register their SIM cards during the initial registration while carrying out SIM card harmonization process across all networks. And the federal government has promised not to inflict additional hardship on Nigerian citizens. President Buhari made this promise when he received the new executive of the Trade Union Congress at the presidential villa. The president said his administration will continue to find ways to alleviate the sufferings and create a more conducive environment for everyone. President Buhari gave assurances of his government's commitment to the implementation of the national minimum wage, among other safety nets being put in place by his government. The Trade Union Congress was at the presidential villa to demand improved welfare of Nigerians.
We recognize the effort of the National Assembly and Your Excellency on the passage and signing into law the new minimum wage. We are, however, disturbed that the enthusiasm that greeted the development is fast turning into a nightmare. We are yet to see the commitment by the government in its implementation, given the position of the government representative in the committee set up to negotiate the consequential adjustments arising from the minimum wage. The organized labor has been considerate by lowering its initial demands in increasing the salaries of officers from grade 7 to 17. We express the hope that the issue of consequential adjustment will be negotiated openly and in the spirit of collective bargaining.
A key agenda item was the medium-term expenditure framework, which included discussions around the new minimum wage. I want to assure you all that the federal government remains committed to paying the new minimum wage. On the fuel prices, I agree with you on the need to eliminate corruption and inefficiencies in the sector. I want to assure you that as an administration, we have no intention of inflicting any additional hardship on Nigerians. I have taken note of other suggestions you made.
Nigeria and Russia have agreed to collaborate in resuscitating the Komato's multi-billion-dollar Jakarta Steel Company located in Kogi State. This renewed commitment was reached when the Russian ambassador to Nigeria, Alexei Shabashir, paid a courtesy visit to the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Olamilekan Adigbite, at the ministry's headquarters in Abuja. Adegbite maintained that the federal government remains committed to diversifying the economy through the solid minerals and mining sector, and that the move to revitalize Ajaokuta Steel Company to produce optimally is one key issue the Buhari-led administration wants to achieve. He said the federal government is working round the clock to ensure that some sections of the company will start production before the end of the year. The federal government, the minister added, is ready to welcome any collaboration aimed at revitalizing the steel industry to operate in full capacity. He further disclosed that the government has been expending a huge amount of money to ensure that the assets at the company are not vandalized. Earlier, the Russian envoy Alexei Shabashu said his country is ready to partner with Nigeria in resuscitating Ajaokuta Steel Company, especially in the areas of rebuilding infrastructure and overhauling the plant. Shabashu, however, called on the federal government to protect investors who are interested in turning around the company for maximum production. Also speaking was the Russian deputy head of Mission Trade and Economic Affairs, Valery Shaboskinov, revealed that his country had carried out on the spot analysis of the challenges militating against the smooth operation of Ajaokuta Steel Company. Shaposhkinov emphasized the need for more engagements between Russia and Nigeria, including stakeholders in the steel industry, so as to be better informed to fashion out the best ways to tackle issues hindering smooth operation of the company. He also added that his country's readiness from the inception of the company was to harness the potential of the steel subsector by providing the necessary equipment for the industrialization of Nigeria. And Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adamu has called on state governments in Nigeria to make both political and financial commitments to actualizing the objectives of water supply, sanitation and hygiene, otherwise known as WASH, a program being implemented in collaboration with the World Bank. The minister made the plea at a national stakeholders consultation workshop which commenced in Abuja this Thursday. Our correspondent Ifeoluwa Ishola was there and now brings us the details.
In recent years, the federal government of Nigeria has strengthened its commitment towards improving access to water supply, sanitation and hygiene WASH, following a comprehensive analysis included in the WASH Poverty Diagnosis for Nigerian published in 2017. The analysis confirmed with alarming rate the degree to which Nigeria's WASH sector is underdeveloped when compared with its regional counterparts. This led President Buhari to declare a state of emergency in the water supply sector in 2018 at the launch of the National Action Plan for the Revitalization of Nigerian Water and Sanitation Sector. Consequently, a 13-year strategy was developed aimed at assuring universal access to water as part of the Sustainable Development Goals before 2030. Unveiling the Access and Sustainability Report as prepared by the World Bank, Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adamu says the workshop is aimed at discussing modalities for the implementation of the WASH project. He further urged participants to treat the project as an integrated package.
The POS program is a 15-year program that is divided into 3 phases. Phase 1 is the preparation period that is devoted to sustained advocacy, mobilization and project takeoff. Phase 2 will span 2019 to 2025 with substantial increase in project delivery, while Phase 3 from 2026 to 2030 will consolidate the program implementation. I'm happy to note that progress is being made on the implementation of the POS program, with 24 states signing onto the program protocol. Also, in the 2 pilot states of Kano and Ogun states, over 700 water facilities have been either constructed or rehabilitated with an investment of over 1.6 billion by the federal government alone so far. Let me remind you that the PWASH and all other interventions, including the Clean Nigeria Use the Toilet campaign we are about to launch, are part and parcel of the National WASH Action Plan and should be treated as an integrated package. I would like to use this occasion to reiterate our commitment to the Clean Nigeria Use the Toilet campaign in order to stop open defecation in our country by the year 2025.
Also speaking, World Bank Country Director Rashid Ben Maswood reaffirmed the bank's commitment to actualize the WASH project in Nigeria. To this end, they revealed that the World Bank has investment worth $350 million to deliver sustainable and safe water and sanitation to millions of Nigerians.
The World Bank Group is proud to offer continued support as you embark in implementing the National Action Plan for the revitalization of Nigeria's WASH sector. Since the launch of the WASH poverty diagnosis, our team has provided continued support to the Ministry in the development and the implementation of the action plan. At the request of the government of Nigeria, our team has begun preparing a new $350 million lending operation in support of rural communities and small towns. These projects will serve to increase access to water and sanitation and hygiene services and strengthen the capacity for service delivery.
Despite increasing urbanization, slightly more than half of all Nigerians reside in rural areas. Thus, attaining the SDGs for WASH will be largely contingent upon Nigerians' ability to improve and sustain access to safely manage WASH services in rural communities. Ifeoluwa Ishola, reporting for Clearview Television.
You're watching Clearview Television News. We'll be back after this time out.
Night concert is the secret of cheap viewing. All you have to do, just get your decoder, any free-to-air decoder at all, and tell the installer to track it to Night concert.
So you get all your latest news from there.
It's not only that entertainment Hausa programs sports even news from the villa and plenty other things.
And I've been burning my money on that company from Southeast Africa or Northeast Africa or somewhere. I'll be back.
When are you going to?
To get my decoder, of course.
It's switchover time. Nigeria Communication Satellite Night Concert. It is viewed in about 38 countries. No subscription. Just buy the free-to-air decoder. Be part of this, and you have access to Clearview Television 24 hours, 7 days.
The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries has commended the Nigerian government's efforts at tackling maritime insecurity. OPEC also commended Nigeria for accepting to host the upcoming Global Maritime Security Conference, saying the talks will go a long way in addressing security concerns in the maritime domain of the entire Gulf of Guinea. Secretary General of the OPEC, Mohammed Sanusi Barkindo, gave the commendation in a message to the organizing committee of the conference. Barkindo, who noted that the Gulf of Guinea is strategic to the stability of oil production globally, said any infraction there would be felt beyond the region. While describing the upcoming conference as timely, Barkindo expressed the hope that it will bring together relevant stakeholders to discuss in a constructive manner what concerted action could be undertaken to ensure the sustainable use and long-term security of this important and strategic body of ocean. He also noted that the conference would create renewed confidence in investment in the oil and gas sector in the Gulf of Guinea, with a multiplier effect of addressing the challenges associated with the sector globally. Already, the Director General, Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Dr. Dakuku Peterside, has confirmed the participation of over 70 countries at the conference scheduled to hold in Abuja. Peterside says the conference would provide a platform for stakeholders to brainstorm and collectively find solutions to the challenge of maritime insecurity in the Gulf of Guinea and assured participants of a successful event in Nigeria. And pilots of the British Airways are said to be plotting a 10-day mega strike that could lead to a colossal loss of £400 million and break the airline. Already, a report says the bosses of the British Airline Pilots Association are lining up the walkout for November that would ground much of its fleet worldwide. Captains furious at the loss of pay and travel perks despite boosting BA profits have already held 2 days of action with another due in 2 weeks. An airline source said the disruption seen so far is nothing as the mega walkout would bring BA to its knees. In response, British Airways could call in 150 volunteer pilots to tackle the 10-day walkout. The Pilots Association bosses will ask partner firms for help to ensure flights are not grounded if the action goes ahead in November. Pilots staged a 2-day walkout on September 9th and 10th, costing the airline £80 million in lost revenue and threatening that if the issues are not resolved, it will take place again on September 27th. British Airways has offered a pay rise of 11.5% over 3 years, but Balpa says captains want a bigger share of profits. Union bosses are considering walkouts at half-term or Christmas. They have yet to ratify the mooted 10-day strike. And to some more international stories, Kenya this Friday became the 3rd country in Africa to adopt the world's first malaria vaccine to immunize the children under the age of 2. Malaria is a top killer of children under 5 in the East African nation, and the vaccine is critically important to its efforts to combat the disease because other measures such as mosquito nets have not proven adequate. Ahead of Friday's launch of the vaccine in Homa Bay in the western part of the country, the Director General of Kenya's Health Ministry, Wekesa Masasabi, says the country still has an incidence of 27% malaria infection among children under 5. Masasabi said the launch is the government's first step towards creating awareness of the new vaccine, adding that Kenya plans to roll out the vaccine to 8 of its 47 countries over the next 2 years. The 2 other African nations that adopted the vaccine earlier this year are Ghana and Malawi. Malaria infected about 219 million people in 2017, killing around 435,000 of them, a vast majority of them babies and children in the poorest parts of Africa. In a major report last weekend that was commissioned by the Lancet Medical Journal, global health experts say malaria can be eradicated within a generation. The Lancet report contradicted the conclusions last month of a malaria review by the World Health Organization, as its experts urged the WHO not to shy away from this goal of epic proportions. Due to ongoing transmission, half the world's population is still at risk of contracting malaria. You're watching Clearview Television News. We'll be back for more stories.
Juggernaut scores his first goal for a professional side.
And moving over to sports, the Confederation of African Football President Ahmad Ahmad has admitted that the continental body sought the assistance of FIFA following the challenges facing African football. A statement from CAF on Wednesday quoted Ahmed as saying this at the inauguration of the CAF FIFA Reforms Task Force at CAF's headquarters in Cairo, Egypt. Among obstacles identified in the statement are football safety and security, African football governance and revenue generation for the continent's competitions and events. Ahmad, who thanked members of the task force for accepting to help CAF, said independent experts impute are needed to tackle the obstacles. He said there are obstacles that we faced that resulted in our request for assistance. That's why we also need you, the independent experts. Together we will move forward. FIFA President Gianni Infantino urged members of the task force to give their full support. Infantino said, and we quote, "If this CAF FIFA cooperation succeeds, African football will be even more envied around the world. You members of the task force are the foundation from which the culture of African football will be built." Members of the CAF FIFA Reforms Implementation Task Force include Adolaye Diop, Mali; Hossam El Shafei, Egypt; Janet Katsiya, Kenya; Martin Goga, Rwanda; and Anin Yubwa, Ghana. According to the statement, the mission of the Reforms Task Force is to strengthen and accelerate the ongoing reforms at CAF. The joint CAF-FIFA roadmap covers three main areas: financial management, good governance, and internal procedures. And the Minister of Youth and Sports Development has directed national sports federations to immediately begin preparations for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. The federations have also been directed to submit details for their plans for preparations within 10 days of the directive. The minister, in a memo addressed to all presidents of national sports federations, asked the federations to review their programs in view of the just concluded All-African Games in Morocco. The memo dated 10th September 2019 said federations are required to submit their programs reviewed in the light of the outcome of the Africa Games and progress recorded in the preparations for the Olympics to enable the ministry to take necessary steps. Federations are therefore expected to develop and train the athletes and present them to the ministry in a timely fashion for competitions, which requires that the training of athletes should now be on and off season. You're consequently directed to commence preparations in earnest for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. The minister identified late preparations as the bane of Nigerians' participation in champions and international tournaments, saying presidents and secretaries of federation are expected to embrace the new thinking aimed at addressing the challenge, as stated in the memo. Nigerians want medals, not failures or stories. And before we go, a look at our top stories. A group of female leaders of non-governmental organizations has been brainstorming on how to put an end to the problems being faced by women. They say many women are groaning under the weight of gender discrimination in total disregard of their fundamental human rights. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, has commended the federal government's efforts at tackling maritime insecurity. The world body also commended Nigeria for accepting to host the next Global Maritime Security Conference. We also brought you a report that Kenya has added the world's first malaria vaccine to the routine immunization schedule for children under 2. With the adoption, it has become the third country in Africa to roll out the vaccine for the disease that kills one child globally every 2 minutes. And that's the news. Remember that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel via Clearview TV. You can like us on Facebook via Clearview Television. Follow us on Twitter at Clearview Online. Follow us on Instagram at Clearview TV_NG. You can also watch Clearview TV on NigeComSat with any free-to-air decoder. For details, contact your local installer. I am Prudence Okona. Many thanks for watching.